keepers here at Paradise Wildlife Park. I'm joined by Claire, one of the other keepers, and we'll actually be doing one of our otter feeds for you guys today, and we'll actually be doing an enrichment feed as well, so it'll be nice and fun, and we'll see what they want to do with it.
So thank you for everyone that's just tuning in right now. The otters are just here and we're just about to put the enrichment in the pool. So don't forget that we are currently closed due to COVID-19, so any support would be greatly appreciated in the form of Facebook stars, which you can use as a donation, and also our animal support fund on Facebook. And don't forget to share and tag anyone, as there are a lot of otter lovers out there. Cool. So what is this here?
So what we've got is one of our keepers actually made this board, so it's got all these little clips on to actually hold their food in place. Today we've actually got a nice bit of crayfish for them. So what we're going to do, we're going to put it in the water, flip it upside down, and hopefully it will show you guys some natural behaviours that these guys would naturally do out in the wild.
Awesome.
And then Claire will be on hand releasing the otters into this part of the enclosure. So yeah, so we'll see what they make of it.
So for anyone that has just tuned in, we're just about to go live with our otters here, our Asian Short-Clawed Otters at Paradise Wildlife Park. So Claire is about to go around the back and let them out into their main side. How do you think it's going to go?
Hopefully it'll be alright. So these guys will naturally, obviously, come out in the water, so they should know what they're doing. So yeah, so hopefully Claire is just about to release them over to this side. Luckily the balls just come in front of the window, so hopefully we'll have a good view of what they do, and here they come. So we're actually joined by our 4 Asian Short-Clawed Otters that we have here at the moment. We do have 4 boys, and we have Dad, who's Cammy, and he's actually 16 years old, so he's a bit of an old boy. People normally ask where's Mum. She did sadly pass away many years ago. And with otters, they are actually monogamous, which means that they pair for life. So even if we did want to introduce another female to Cammy, chances are he would probably reject her. So just to save any of the hassle, we've just kept them as a small family group. With the sons, so the oldest one is Dougie, and he's actually 12 years old.
Whereabouts is Dougie?
The way you can tell him apart, he's the smallest out of the 4. So I believe he is the one, I can't really see that one in the water, but I believe he's this one just here. Next one is Snoopy. The way we can tell him apart, he's got little sticky out ears compared to the rest of them, and he's actually 10 years old. And then the youngest, but is also 10 years old, he actually turned 10 on Monday, is Whisper. Now the way you can tell him apart, if you see the white fur on their throat, he's actually got the whitest fur out of the lot of them. So that's a nice easy way that you guys can tell them apart. So like I said, we are feeding them a bit of crayfish. Now people normally think that these guys actually eat a lot of fish out in the wild, but it is only, the only sort of percentage of their diet of fish is actually about a third. They eat other animals, particularly other crustaceans, mollusks, and then also insects as well. And we do like to try and replicate that here in captivity as well. So with these guys, we do feed them a small amount of fish in the morning. We also feed them a lot of crustaceans, so things like crayfish, shore crabs, hermit crabs, and even things like shrimp and prawns as well. And we do like to also give them some insects as well, so we give them things like mealworms here at Paradise as well. Now these guys actually live out in the mangrove forests out in Southeast Asia, particularly areas such as Vietnam, Thailand, places around there really. And these guys are actually the smallest out of all of the 13 species of otter you will find around the world. Now even though they are the smallest, they are actually the least aquatic out of all of them, and they do spend most of their time on land as opposed to swimming in the water. But as you can see, they're absolutely perfect swimmers, and they've got several adaptations to make them better suited to water life. So we'll go through a few of them now. So first things you'll see them with their hands. Now, as the name suggests, they actually don't have, they have a small claw on their feet, and they actually don't have little to no webbing between their toes as well. So this makes them very dexterous when they are actually finding their food out in the wild, because these guys have to go into any sort of the bottom of any sort of lakes and things like that to find any sort of mollusks. So they need to go and sift through any sort of mud, things like that. They do also have two layers of fur. So the outer layer is the darker layer that we can see, and that's actually made up of guard hairs, which try and sort of prevent any of the water from seeping in. And then underneath, I don't know if you can see any of the fur sort of part in there, they do have a nice white fluffy layer, which allows them to stay nice and warm. So that allows them to stay warm when they're hunting.
So if anyone's just tuned in right now, thank you very much. And if you'd like to support Paradise Wildlife Park and our live streams so far, then please feel free to donate some Facebook stars to us. Or alternatively, you can head to our animal support fundraiser on Facebook and donate there.
So like I said, there's actually 13 species of otter found around the world. These guys are the smallest and they are actually classed as vulnerable. Now, out of the 13 species, 12 out of the 13 are actually classed as vulnerable or endangered. Now, that is quite sad. The only one that isn't is actually the North American river otter. So it just goes to show how many threats these guys are faced with out in the wild, that the majority of the species are actually coming close to extinction out in the wild, which is really sad. They are faced with a variety of threats. The first one's being anything to do with their habitat, so things like habitat destruction is a main one for these guys. But then also pollution as well. So if these guys do come into contact with any oils or any chemicals in the water, it can actually have an adverse reaction to their waterproof oils on their fur. So unfortunately, if they do come into contact with any oils or any chemicals, they won't actually be able to stay nice and warm when they're swimming, because it will have an adverse reaction to them oils on their fur. So it's quite sad that it gives them a little sort of problem when they're hunting. But then also being on their food sources as well. So if you have any oil or chemicals on their food, they then ingest it. Obviously it doesn't do good to their insides. So another thing that isn't good for them. But then also their habitat as well. So it's particularly in areas such as Asia, there actually is known for them to, for us humans to actually put shrimp and prawn farms out there. Now it is known that about 70% of them shrimp and prawns are actually brought back to the UK alone. So it is pretty much our own sort of eating and food habits that is directly impacting these guys out in the wild. But then they are also hunted for the fur trade and the illegal pet trade as well. So people will hunt them for their fur and take any young pups and sell them in the illegal pet trade. So one way we can actually try and help any of our animals, and then also the otters as well. If you see any sort of videos or any pictures of any baby otters in obviously human environments, we do like to advise people not to like or share this, because this just promotes the illegal pet trade as well. And like I said, people will actually take cubs from the wild, and particularly mother otters, they are very, very protective of their young. So it is highly likely that the mum will also be killed, so that the people can actually take their cubs. So it is really, really sad. So here at Paradise, we like to raise as much money as we can for any animals here at the park. That does include our otters as well. Now, unfortunately, with the pandemic at the moment, we are unfortunately closed. We would actually be celebrating Otter Weekend this weekend. The last few years we've raised a little under about £1,500 for a variety of different charities, some being the International Otter Survival Fund, and then also this year we're actually going to raise money for Save Vietnam's Wildlife, which not only helps the Asian Short-Clawed Otter but also other species as well. So sadly we won't be able to celebrate this year.
And whereabouts are they heading to now?
So if they've not got any interest in the board, that pretty much means all the food's gone. These guys are like little hoovers really. They do need to be fed several times a day. This is actually their third feed of the day. And that's because they've actually got quite a high metabolism. So basically they need to consume about 20% of their body weight every day in order to live, basically. So yeah, so they'll probably go and dry off. So they've got a dry side, which is full of bark and logs and things like that. What they'll do, they'll rub themselves on it to dry themselves, get any of the water off of their bodies. And after that, they'll probably go and have a nice nap, especially after being fed. So yeah, they'll probably have a good old nap. And then, yeah, just in time for the last feed of the day.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for the talk today. And thank you everyone for tuning in and taking part. If you did enjoy the stream, obviously we are closed at the minute due to COVID-19, so any donation would be greatly appreciated, whether that's through Facebook Stars or to our Animal Support Fund on Facebook, on our main page. So yeah, thank you very much and have a great day, everyone.